Welcome to Lynn Cullen Live, talk radio without the static. Email your questions and comments to lynn@pghcitypaper.com. And now your host, Lynn Cullen.
Hey there, I'm looking nervously up at the wall because that alarm's going to go off. I just want you to know it's definitely going to go off. First Tuesday in the month, and it's going to go, I think. Well, we had my brother yesterday, we got my sister today, and I don't know. Next week we're going to start working on second cousins once removed. Susan!
Good morning.
Good morning. You have a little bit of a buzz. Is that on our end? It's on our end. Hang on. Okay. Everything okay?
Yeah, it's just busy around here.
Yeah, I know. Susan ran up to Green Bay in the wake of the near-fatal accident involving the lightning, the tree, and my mother. And, yeah.
Yeah.
So
yep, I got back on from seeing family in St. Louis on
Sunday. Saturday.
Sunday.
And now you're up here in, so you don't even know where you are anymore.
Spent the night. I didn't even unpack my suitcase. I just closed it back up.
Oh, God.
And brought all my dirty laundry up here.
Well, that's what, even if you're on Medicare, it is totally cool to still bring your dirty laundry to your mother's house, so that's fine.
I didn't have a choice.
No. Where's the alarm? Usually they're right on the nose at 10. It's going to have, you see, they're just waiting to scare the shit out of you when you've forgotten about it. Can we turn up the audio a little? I don't know if I've gone deaf or not. Bill left this morning. I love him dearly. He's exhausting.
He is totally exhausting. Did you have a more
yes,
a drier night?
Yes,
last
we
night?
Definitely did. I feel fine now. Jeez. But that's what he did to you.
Mother was complaining because the night that the tree fell on her head,
yeah,
two of her oldest friends came to take her out to dinner.
Right.
Took a look at the roof and said, "Oh," got her in the car and took her out for Chinese food where she couldn't get so much as a beer, not a drink, not anything. And she's so mad at these two women that that's it. She says she feels differently about them forever now. And
well, because they didn't, you're not explaining it right, because they didn't even, here are all these, there's a hole in her roof, lightning struck, so she had just, it is, and
directly above her head.
And I know, and they pick her up. This happens right when there's, going to dinner. They pick her up, and she says, my house, I was right under my lightning, thunder, my bedroom is destroyed, oh, my God. And they just said, all right, oh, it's okay. Get it. And they didn't, she said the whole dinner, they never talked. She felt.
They never talked about it. They were just having a visit, or as Mother says, talking about absolutely nothing. She was going nuts.
And she wanted
on top of it, she couldn't even have a
drink. Yeah, she was pissed. So, when
really
you're...
all she wanted was
right.
a good, stiff drink, and I don't blame her.
No, I don't either. When you're 90... Well, she'll be 96 in a few weeks. When you're 96 and you just escape death, literally. We are not exaggerating about that.
You're vaguely irritated that you didn't die.
Yes, and she is. She's always liked the idea of a quick death, so she thought that was her shot. And maybe she was supposed to die. And whatever. She said, it would have been quick. I wouldn't have known what hit me. Blah, 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 blah. But to have, you don't have a lot. Your friends are mostly dead if you're 96. So the two that picked her up are what? They're in their 90s. But I think
one's 94 and one's 92.
Okay. So
no, one's 90 and one's 92.
Yeah, but so anyway...
One of them actually died last year, but was brought back
That's
to
true.
life.
One of them did die last year.
She's probably fairly blasé about this near-death stuff.
Well, that's true, since been there, done that. But that they didn't... it didn't register on them. Maybe at that age, you're just sort of like, I don't know. Maybe, are you out of empathy by that age? It's like, you're just... You're just trying real hard to hang on. I don't know, but our mother is pissed off. that they did not offer the kind of support that she needed. That's awful.
No,
though.
I mean, it basically freaked her out, which is why when I talked to her yesterday morning to check in to see,
you realized you had to come. Yeah,
because I had a bet with one of her good friends here who had called me on Sunday night to assure me that my mother had promised everybody over and over that she was going to sleep upstairs and not in her damaged bedroom. And I said to this woman, I'll bet you $50 she sleeps in her bedroom. So I called up this morning. I said, so, Mom, how was your night? Where did you sleep? She says, I am so tired of everybody telling me what to do. I slept in my room. And I said, I knew it. I'm 50
The ceiling's caving in. Jesus Christ.
And it's
but no, she moved
today, and she slept there again.
She slept there. There's no one tells her what to do. But the thing is, I understand.
But the construction guys came this morning, and they gave her the A-OK to sleep there. She's okay.
Oh, they did. They said you're okay.
Yeah, they don't think there's structural damage to the beams. So,
that's what she said. So what happened to the fire alarm?
But just so you understand, people, this was at least a 65-foot branch of a very old tree, and it's several tons worth. It took about 20 feet to reach the roof of my mother's bedroom. Then it went across the whole thing, and it's sticking 25 feet out the other side.
In the backyard, yeah. Yeah, it's pretty impressive. Well, but what's funny, I mean, what she does is sit.
I was happily listening to you two doing your show yesterday. Bill looked so teeny sitting.
He looked tiny because of these
his
chairs.
Shoulders looked tiny. He was sitting there very, very
low chair. These chairs, they're maddening. You sit in them and they just go bzzz down. And now Susan.
Well, I mean, I find it interesting because just for anybody that watched, that man is 6'2" and broad-shouldered.
I don't think he's 6'2".
He was 6'1" now. He's 6'1".
I don't even think he's 6'1". I don't think our dad was 6'3", and Bill never got that. Bill, I don't think. I think he's just about 6 feet right now. He said he lost an inch already, so no, he's not that big.
Oh, well, he fused his back. Okay, this is boring, but never mind.
I know, but whatever. Anyway.
It's better than the alternative.
Yeah, right. Jesus. So it turns out that Bill knows two of these judges on Trump's short list.
The short list?
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're both.
I haven't even looked at the short
Well,
list.
you don't want to. They're both from Michigan. One of them he likes very much. He says the other one is a very nice. So in other words, he's saying very nice people. I don't care if they're nice. I was screaming. Who cares if they're nice?
No.
If they're on the short list, they are Federalist, first originalists, and yeah. There's
excuse me, I hate that term. They're anti-abortion.
That is true. So he said
Well, I hate that term too because I'm anti-abortion. But I am for a woman's right to choose.
Right, I'm for a woman being able to control her own body.
Everybody's anti-abortion. Nobody wants one.
No, I know. Well, that's another branding war that our side lost decisively. We are just, guys, we're really lousy at winning.
We're really lousy at this.
At winning
because,
anything.
Excuse me, I'm pro-life.
Yeah. Well, sorry, the other side's got that. You can't be pro-life.
No, I argue that frequently because I'm so pro-life that I hear about people after they're born.
Yeah, I imagine that. Yeah. Well, anyway, so...
And I think all God's children are our children.
Mm.
I'm pro-life.
Yeah.
Anyway, yeah, I'm very upset. I am now, I am a since I'm in my post-mating feminist phase, I am, I am just fighting to keep these men from re-subjugating women.
Yeah.
And they're trying.
And they've got a lot of female accomplices. Since of the
they have a ton of female
of the 5 on the short list.
I can't even believe it.
No, 2 of them are. Well, like one of the women who was interviewed yesterday. I'm sorry for my voice. It's just not right. She's got like 7 children. She's Catholic. She's got 7 children, and she's totally opposed to abortion, right? And she's young as hell, and she's pretty. Yeah, pretty little blonde. And I don't know. One of these people, female or male, is going to be on the court, and the court's gone. The court is gone for the rest of my life. There's no stopping it. Why do people say we got to stop? There's no stopping it. No stopping it. We don't have the votes.
Well, there have been a few Republicans that have.
Susan.
Yeah.
How can you?
I don't know why I still.
Yeah.
Why I still believe them.
You're
when
still
they
waiting.
Say they're going to stand up.
Yeah. You're still waiting for what? Susan Collins. I mean, no.
I got angry at her back on the Obamacare vote.
She is, she always says, well, they said
they would do
they
this.
said they would do it.
Really?
They assured me. I'm thinking, you idiot. So, wait, what's wrong with her voice? Can I, do you know what I mean?
Well, there's something wrong with her voice.
The tremory thing.
But we are hardly the people.
No, I know. But I'm saying it seems like a medical issue. I mean, it's sort of like this wavery thing. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Well, she might have some of the same stuff that who was that wonderful woman on NPR?
Diane Rehm. Diane Rehm.
With the vocal cord issue. Yeah.
Maybe so. I'm screaming so much issue that my throat is, I'm just ruined my vocal cords. That's all that's wrong with me.
Well.
I don't know. So the storm that almost took Mom out blew through here last night. That's the same one. And, wow, Suze, we had a lot of flooding. A lot of, it was something. Very intense storm. A lot of thunder, a lot of lightning. My son, who was in Seattle, finally gets back. His plane manages in between the storms to land in Pittsburgh. And then he's stuck. Oh, God, this is like a nightmare. Traveling is always a nightmare. But you're stuck on the plane because of the lightning around the airport.
There's
and
no ground crew allowed.
Ground crew not allowed on the tarmac. And so, you think you're home.
So the pilot comes on and goes, well, folks, we have you on the ground, but because there's lightning in the area, we are forced to sit here until ground crew can come out.
It was over an hour.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. Well, anyway. So, Susan, I don't know. I don't know. The happy story of the day is they found the kids in Thailand.
Yeah, but the unhappy story is they might have to stay there for 6 months until the rainy season is over.
No, I'm sure they'll get it. They will.
I was reading about this because I thought, oh, good, they got divers to them. I guess they'll come through with scuba equipment, and one at a time they'll swim the guys out.
Right.
But no, apparently that's so dangerous that they're probably going to bring food to them, and they're putting them on antibiotics, and they might just have to sit there for...
Until the water goes down.
Until the water goes down.
Oh, I hope not.
That's like October.
I hope. They'll figure something out. I don't know, but... Anyway, whoever thought they'd be alive? So that's pretty cool. They're all alive. Milton, what would I do?
They're all in good condition.
Yeah, what would I do without Milton? This has to be what Susan Collins has. It's called spasmodic dysphonia, also known as laryngeal dystonia. It's a disorder in which the muscles that generate a person's voice go into periods of spasm. This results in breaks
that's what Diane Reed.
Yeah, this results in breaks or interruptions in the voice, often every few sentences, which can make a person difficult to understand. Well, hers just seems sort of like a constant. It's sort of like
It's
sort
just
of
a very weak voice.
yeah, but there's a kind of a spasmodic quality to it, which drives me fucking nuts, and I know it's not right because that makes her disabled, and I, as a tolerant liberal, should not even be drawing attention to it like this. This is one step away.
Making fun of it.
This is one step away from Trump making fun of the yeah, that's right. So I better stop, but somehow I can't.
Yep.
Okay, tell me to stop. It's not good.
Stop.
All right. Where's the fire alarm?
They forgot.
Well, that's really weird. It'll come
They
at the most.
forgot because the guy that does the fire alarm took the week off.
No, but they have a sign up in the lobby saying testing fire alarm at. They did. They have it.
The fire alarm isn't working. It's a good thing they tested it. They found out it's not working today.
Maybe that's it. There's an article in the speaking of the New York Times. I canceled.
Who is speaking of the New York Times?
That's a good question. Oh, excuse me.
I just thought.
Oh, God, we both snorted. Oh, God. Okay. Now I'm speaking of the New York Times. And I have seriously considered dropping my subscription. And if I drop the New York Times after I've already dropped my local newspaper, I'm down to the friggin' Wall Street Journal. But I have to tell you, the New York Times is pissing me off with a regularity that I don't know. I so much prefer the reporting in the Washington Post that I'm wondering, why am I getting the friggin'...
Well, you can't. The Washington Post cannot be delivered to you.
I know, that's the negative.
That's the negative. I'll tell you what I do with the New York Times, because it does irritate me, and because being an urban dweller, recycling is not as easy as it used to be.
Huh.
I pay for the electronic version during the week, and I get the Sunday paper.
Okay. I mean, all I want is the Sunday paper so I can do my puzzles. But, they ran a piece, was it yesterday, that so blew my mind. I couldn't even deal with it. And they do this all the time. They're always doing these pieces on Trump voters and humanizing them. And I'm sick of it. They've
been getting in trouble. I mean, when they try to humanize the white supremacists, they got a lot of backlash.
Well, listen, did you hear about the one they ran, though? This is a guy named, is it Michael Bennett? It's beyond belief. Okay, let me see. Let me find it. He did a piece on Donald Trump as an embodiment of family values.
You're kidding.
No.
How twisted do you have to do a piece about Trump as...
This is in the frigging New York Times. They're explaining. You know what?
On your wife serially?
Yes.
Your wives
yes.
seriously?
Yes.
Because grabbing women by their privates is the... Okay.
Okay, what this guy is doing is, again, this is like the same kind of trying to explain to us elites that these people who love him are living a different reality, and the guy is James Bennett. That's who it is. Okay, let me read a little bit of it to you. It's beyond belief. Baffling, Mr. Bennett says, as it may be to elites, Mr. Trump embodies a real, if imperfect, model of family values. Okay? People familiar with this purple family model, how he comes up with purple, I don't know, it's earlier in the purple family model, tend to view his alienation from his children's mother as normal and his closeness to his children as exceptional and admirable. I saw this among my acquaintances in Nebraska. Even those from red families were more likely than my acquaintances in New York, the elites, to know someone who has had a child out of wedlock or is subject to a restraining order. Mr. Trump's family values may even explain some of his populist appeal. Global leaders like Macron and Merkel appear to have stable and loving marriages, but their childlessness makes them worse exemplars of family values in the eyes of some non-elites. It makes them worse exemplars. So they think that divorcees who have multiple children by multiple women are more like they are. And they appreciate them. Contempt, and here it is, contempt for elite respectability is reflected not only in the respective party platforms, but in the personal lives of these leaders. I don't know what this guy's talking about. I really don't know. And somebody I'd like, Charlie Pearson, Esquire magazine, called it. He said this: I never will understand how this unexpurgated codswallop ever got past the laughter stage at editorial meetings. But not only did it, it was printed in the New York Times about how Trump embodies a kind of now American red state American values where, yeah, you have children by various women. You may not even, whatever. I don't know. I can't even understand it. So we elites, where I'm including all of you, have now replaced, liberals as the most denigrated group on the right. And anything we favor, the other side hates. Just hates. I don't know. The guy, Susan, are you there?
I'm here.
Okay, you're not interested.
No, I am. I was looking for the article myself in the New York Times, and it's not popping up. So
maybe they took it down. Well, so the guy who's in Esquire says, I know my share of people who were born and live in Nebraska, and none of them are as deeply, weirdly twisted as Trump is. I mean, this is bullshit. This effort on the part.
Well, it is bull. This man is evil. To discuss his values, you can only discuss them in terms of negative.
Yeah.
His lacking thereof. You can't somehow turn it around and take his lacking thereof as the thing itself. His relationship with his children is to desire his daughter and to really not think very much of either of his sons.
I would agree.
And to ignore the fourth daughter, whose mother he didn't like.
Yeah. The former...
I don't understand any of it.
Well, I don't
either. The
either.
lack of values.
I know. No values at all. The former executive director of the New York Times, Jill Abramson, finally can't take anymore. She says, I have resisted critiquing the Times publicly, but this shit is bad. She wrote this in an email to Charlie Pierce at Esquire. She said, I'm feeling about the New York Times now, and she was there forever, like I did when my son cheated on a test in 10th grade. I loved him to death, believed he was thoroughly wonderful guy, but he needed a course correction. So I left my desk at the Times, where I was D.C. bureau chief at the time, met his school bus, and read him the Riot Act. He needed a course correction, and so does the New York Times. It is making horrible mistakes left and right.
Well, I've heard a lot of complaints from New York Times staff about this, even-handedness to the point of obscenity, because things like this are getting published.
Yeah, a lot. It's just
a lot, frequently. I mean, as I said, it started with that piece about the how nice the white supremacist was.
Right, that's right.
And people went nuts.
Yeah. They do it, but they do those pieces all the time. Maybe
all
not quite that egregious. So why am I pay so much money for this friggin'
So
paper.
Don't.
Yeah.
So don't.
We've got a call. Hello, caller.
Hello?
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 Hello. I've got a question for your sister, since she's a lawyer. If the Democrats, this is a big if, get the whole shebang again, is it possible that it might be dirty pool, but the rules might allow it, the Democrats to make the president to make the Supreme Court 50-50, where it's bipartisan?
Well, you'd have to amend the Constitution. So even if Congress passed a law, they couldn't pass a law that was contrary to the rules of the Constitution. So the only way to do that would be to have, 2/3 of the states also agree to reformulating the Supreme Court and how it works. So no, Democrats being in office wouldn't change anything.
Well, I had this conversation.
I thought I read something about FDR.
Yeah, right. FDR packing the court, his attempt. Susan, I talked about Bill, because Lawrence Tribe, who is a law professor at Harvard, said nowhere in the Constitution does it say there are 9 justices on the court. So I don't think it requires. But
then okay.
Yeah,
There's
but
nowhere it
the
says
only
that.
but FDR tried to do it exactly for the same reasons. I mean, he was trying to save the country during the Depression, and the Congress was made up of people willing to do these then radical things, spending programs and such, and he was stuck with a totally right-wing Supreme Court left over from Hoover and Coolidge and all the rest of them. And he tried to, pack the court. He tried to add some seats, and all hell broke loose. So it was a PR fiasco more than anything. He backed off. So I don't know.
Because it's seen as a politicization of what should not be a political body, but we're supposed to that.
Yeah, we're way beyond that. We're way beyond that. I don't know.
Yeah, we are way beyond
Listen,
that.
let me just say, no, we're just fucked, okay? Can we just cut to the chase? We're
a
fucked.
fish on a hook, and no matter how much we wiggle, it just gets embedded in our cheek further.
The Republicans, even though they are a minority party, if you ask Americans who they support, and if you look at the national election results, more Americans vote with Democrats. And yet, because Republicans are dogged about winning, they have understood it's a long game. So they've taken over legislatures, which Democrats don't give a shit about. They've taken over legislatures and then gerrymandered and passed voting suppression bills and done everything they can to ensure that even though they don't represent most Americans, they will have an outsized power at the polling booth. And consequently, even though they are a minority party, they own all three branches of our government, and they have an entire network that acts as nothing but a propaganda arm for them while pretending to be a news operation. I think it's I think it's pretty much stick a fork in us, pretty much, is what I think.
Yeah, well, it's not the America that I was raised to believe was my home.
And what there's some poll out. Oh, I'm sorry about this voice. There's a poll out that says that for the first time in America, a minority of Americans say that they are something like fiercely proud of this country or something, or proud to be an American. It doesn't reach 50% anymore.
No. Who could be proud?
Well, 46%.
Well, then they aren't thinking.
God.
I mean, you can love your child and know when they do wrong and not be proud of them.
Got that right. I think the whole idea is, yeah, exactly right. This sort of mindless love of country is, well, it's just kind of leads to jingoistic, mindless patriotism that we see.
Well, I swear, if we live through this, this is an extremely important lesson, that what we took for granted has to be nurtured and cared for. And if we don't do that constantly,
but you know what, Susan?
Disappear.
I think I said on the air, I'm not sure if I said it to Bill, we don't learn from history. So we might learn that lesson. Those of us right now seeing the country slip away from us.
Yeah, but a generation from now, they didn't see it and they won't know it.
Exactly right.
That's why people don't understand that this is exactly like the Holocaust.
Exactly.
They've decided that word represents something
unique
that
right.
you should not speak about, and that is so unspeakable that it
right.
doesn't happen again.
Bullshit. Right. Bullshit. We're
this
the first.
Exactly
we're the first.
What it was about.
Right. And we have that lesson. The Germans didn't have that lesson where they could say, "Look,
and if
this
one
is
more person tells me that I'm not allowed to say it and talk about it, and is horrified that I would mention it, I'm going to slap them upside their face."
Yeah, fuck them.
Because they don't know what they're talking about,
Exactly
and they're
right.
wrong.
Right. Totally agree with you. So here's another. This is just a side.
Well, wait a minute. Let me just say, part of this is I'm very angry that this group of people has stolen from me and you and all of us.
I know.
What I've had my whole life, it's been stolen from me, and that's the sense of security
Right.
that my country could withstand just about anything, because
Right.
we were the United States of America.
Right.
And boy, have I been disabused of that.
Right.
My sense of security has been totally ripped from me, and maybe that's important. Maybe we do need to remember that we can't take this for granted. And if we want it back, we have to fight to get it back. And we have to stay in the fight, and we can't get tired of the fight, and we can't get dismayed by the fight. We just have to doggedly keep fighting to get it back. And then, just like the ancients tended that eternal flame, we've got to do it too, or it'll go out.
Well, I agree, of course. Speaking of the New York Times.
Well, now you were, so go ahead.
I know. That's what the pause was. All right. Dave Eggers, novelist, penned a piece, I think that was in Saturday's paper. And he pointed something out, yet another thing that, gets lost in the outrage du jour, that another way that the Trump White House is different than any other we have seen in our lifetimes. And he actually says in the entirety of American history. And he says that this White House is devoid of culture. In other words, Trump's been in office almost 2 years. He has had next to no artists, and by art I'm talking music and, and authors and this and that. No culture. Well, he did have two artists. He had Ted Nugent, right? And Kid Rock.
Yeah.
Stop by.
Wait, do we have to call Ted Nugent an artist?
Well, Susan, yes, I don't know. Well, of course. Well, he, when you're looking for artists in the Trump White House, that's who we could come up with.
David Lynch. You can have David Lynch. And I do mean that. You can have David Lynch.
Yeah, I heard that too. So anyway, listen, there have been no official concerts at the White House. The Reagans had one every few weeks. There have been no poetry reading. Oh, yeah, that I'd like to see. The Carters began a televised series in performance at the White House, which, you had Mikhail Baryshnikov, you had, anyway, that disappeared the minute that Donald Trump was elected. The only time you hear music is when he's up to some militaristic thing, so he always brings in the Marine Corps band, right?
Egoistic way, right?
Susan, you're breaking up. Suze? We lost you.
I'm sorry.
You're vaguely coming back.
Sorry.
Okay.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, it's still a little bit of a...
Okay, sorry.
Okay, so Eggers says, every great civilization has fostered great art, while authoritarian regimes have not. They see artists as either nuisances, enemies of the state, or propaganda tools. So the reality is that presidents have always welcomed American cultural, exemplars to the White House. They saw it as part of the job, a celebration of the country's art. My God, George H.W. Bush had Michael Jackson to the White House.
Don't you think a great deal of this has to do with artists won't perform there? And then it became embarrassing to ask.
I can't imagine that they asked. But you're right, most would not. That is true.
They knew up front that the people that they might want to invite wouldn't come. And then they're setting themselves up for unpleasantness. So my guess is that everybody said, don't invite anybody lest they say no.
Maybe. I mean, George W. Bush, who we like to, at the time say was essentially illiterate, but, look at him now. He's a painter, right? He had Bono in the Oval Office. He had Yitzhak Perlman. He had Destiny's Child. He was an avid reader who had an ongoing contest with Karl Rove to see who could read the most books in a year. That was W, for God's sakes. And we know we have a president now who literally does not read. God almighty. So, anyway, Eggers says, the thing is, with art comes empathy. It allows us to look through someone else's eyes. It expands the moral imagination and makes it impossible to accept the dehumanization of others. When we are without art, we are a diminished people. We are myopic, unlearned, and cruel. Exactly the way Trump's base wants it, because That's what they want. That's what they want. All this shit that we elites think of as valuable, they want to trash. And as Bill and I were saying yesterday, they'll take down the house. They'll take us all down because their spite and hatred of us is so intense, they don't care if they take everything down. Remember when they used to say, when before the election, that they wanted him to explode everything, to just blow it up, right? People would say that. Got to blow it up. Well, wonderful. He's done it. How about an obituary to cheer us up?
Oh, good. I love obits.
Me too. Harlan Ellison. Do you know him? Writer?
No.
Writer? You're not into science fiction.
No.
He wrote over 100 books, 1,700 short stories. He wrote, all he did was write. He was nuts, and he was nuts. But listen to the first paragraph of the New York Times obit, which I think is just wonderful. I mean, wonderful writing and nails Harlan Ellison. The obit says this: Harlan Ellison, a furiously prolific and cantankerous writer whose science fiction and fantasy stories reflected a personality so intense that they often read as if he were punching his manual typewriter keys with his fists, has died at the age of 84. Well, when you read the whole obit, you see that is absolutely, this guy was filled with rage. And he exhibited it his entire life. He, by the way, insisted people like Isaac Asimov and Ray Bradbury were always saying that he was a genius writer in their genre. And he absolutely despised being thought of as a science fiction writer. And here's what he said in an interview about 10 years ago. Listen to this. Call me a science fiction writer. I'll come to your house and I'll nail your pet's head to the coffee table. I'll hit you so hard your ancestors will die.
That's a really good one.
I know. It says here.
I like that. I have to remember that.
Yeah. So he said that he lost his job with the Walt Disney Company on the first day when he stood up in its commissary with company executives watching and described how he wanted to make an animated pornographic film starring Mickey and Minnie Mouse. I don't know if that's true. His many lawsuits included one against the makers of the movie The Terminator, in which he accused them of plagiarizing a script that he had written in 1964. Could well be. He wrote a lot for Star Trek, Twilight Zone, The Outer Limits, blah, 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 blah. Says here he grew up outside of Cleveland and was bullied a lot in school, mostly because he was a Jew. And that's part of what fueled his anger. Here's a quote. I survived their tender mercies with nothing more debilitating to show for it than a lifelong, blood-drenched obsession for revenge. I mean, this is an angry man.
Yep.
He attended Ohio State but left after 2 years. At one point, he punched an English professor who had told him he didn't see any writing talent in him. And thereafter, Ellison sent copies of his published stories to the professor every time they were published. So there you have it. He was best friends with Robin Williams, who described Harlan Ellison as, get this, here's Robin Williams describing his friend here, a skin graft on a leper. Jeez. Okay, and here I'll just end it with Isaac Asimov once called Ellison one of the best writers in the world, but he lamented that Ellison had too often been sidetracked by his furies. And here's Asimov. It is simply terrible that he should be constantly embroiled in matters which really have nothing to do with his writing and which slow him down. He claims he's 5 feet 4 inches tall, but it doesn't really matter. In talent, energy, and courage, he is 8 feet tall. So Asimov was a big, big fan. Harlan Ellison, ladies and gentlemen, dead angrily at the age of 84.
Isaac Asimov is one of my Me Too moments.
I know.
And I reported it contemporaneously,
yes,
too,
you did.
so you know it's true.
Well, do you want to...
Well, he attacked me in an elevator.
Well,
we lived in the same building.
Yeah. Isn't attacked too strong a word?
Well, okay, he didn't attack me, but, yeah, he did attack me. I was in the elevator with a man who turned out to be Isaac Asimov, who felt he had the right to touch me.
All right.
On my tush, as I recall.
Yeah. Well,
yeah.
You didn't find that, yeah.
I didn't know. I was freaked.
Yeah, but Susan, it was in the 70s. There was no, that was, yeah, and if
it was in the 70s, so I guess I was supposed to be complimented.
That's right.
That Isaac Asimov
liked your ass.
my ass
right.
in an elevator.
Yeah.
I wasn't. Just to make it clear, I wasn't. I was shocked and dismayed. Now, when Isaac Bashevis Singer wandered into my room when I was 16, when he stayed at the house at 3 o'clock in the morning and offered to tell me a bedtime story, I found that rather cute, but I did just walk the old guy back to his room. And
so what is it with these old Jewish writers named Isaac, where they're hitting on you?
I don't know. But
how did Isaac,
wait a minute,
how did Isaac Bashevis Singer end up in our house?
He was speaking, he was invited in by the Jewish congregation, and those people frequently stayed as our house guests. I don't know why.
All right, so...
There wasn't really a good hotel here then. I think I know he stayed with us. He slept in Bill's room.
I was at college. Bill and I were gone already.
Right.
Right, so he wandered into your room in the middle of the night?
Yeah, came right into my room in the middle of the night. You betcha he did.
Oh, well. Milton Ascent, Harlan Ellison quotes, the two most common elements in the universe are hydrogen and stupidity. And if you make people think they're thinking, they'll love you. But if you really make them think, they'll hate you.
They'll hate you. It hurts. It hurts to think.
Yeah.
Hard work.
It is, and fewer people seem inclined to do it. By the way, Bill went home after the show yesterday when he was embarrassed about he wasn't embarrassed about pronouncing roof. And, I had that dictionary of regional speech.
Yeah, so he went right to the dictionary, yes.
Yeah. And, of course, he found that, what was it? It's upstate New York and upper Midwest that has that pronunciation, roof. And then we started coming...
I wonder if it has anything to do with marching the Oneida Indians out of upstate New York and replanting them in the northern Midwest. A lot of Indian tribes were marched out of that area and replanted there.
But do you know how they pronounce roof?
why would I'm just trying to think, why would those two things
I don't
happen?
Know. Well, that's one, but I don't... That seems like a Let me think.
No, Trump seems like a stretch, and that's true. So why does that seem like
all
a
right,
stretch?
yeah, there's no such thing as a stretch anymore. We have now know that everything is possible.
Everything is possible.
And as George Carlin so famously said, anyone in the United States can grow up to be president. And that's the problem.
That's the problem.
Yeah. There it is. But I forgot I was going to tell. Oh, so there were other ones. Like, how do you pronounce Route?
Well, I say root, as in the root of all evil.
You say, like, so you take Route 66. R-O-U-T.
R-O-U-T-E is pronounced the same way as R-O-O-T.
Okay, so I agree with you, but I don't think
But
that's...
other people say route.
Route is what Bill said. In all of these pronunciation things, Bill is wrong. I just want to say that.
Right, because route is actually spelled R-O-U-T,
R-O-U-T.
and it's what happens when you badly lose.
That's right. You rout the enemy. That is route. Right. Put an E on it.
That is route.
It's
root is R-U-T-E.
Right.
That's what the E at the end of that word does.
Uh-huh. Huh. Chris writes, Robert Kennedy Jr. has the same affliction as Susan Collins. Just heard him in an interview about the death of his father, and I could barely understand him. His voice is really bad. Before I knew he had this diagnosis, I said to myself, he sounds exactly like his grandmother, Rose. You know, she sounded like that. That's true. But I just thought it was an old lady voice, you know.
Right.
You know. I don't know. So,
well, Botox, that's what Botox is really good for.
What? Oh, it's paralyzing vocal cords.
Yeah, well, it stops the tremor and allows you to speak. It works paradoxically.
Yeah, strangely. So
keep fighting, Lynn. I'm being no help today at all.
That's
but
okay.
At least
No,
I
I've got stuff here. Oh, you're saying at least you call me Lynn, right? And he screwed up. He screwed up and called me the family nickname.
As our brother called you by your pet name.
Which is so incomprehensible. For those of you who missed it, it was Ninu. Yeah. Believe it or not, that's...
We all call Lynn Ninu. We still call Lynn Ninu. I've never called my sister Lynn except when I am on this, whatever it is
right.
we do. That's the
only family member, the only person in our extended family who calls me Lynn is my son.
Well, he calls you Lynn Cullen.
Yes.
He doesn't call you Mom. He doesn't call you Lynn. He calls you Lynn Cullen. Lynn Cullen, when's dinner?
He just does it to annoy me, which it does. I
think it's funny.
Yes. Blows through the door. Lynn Cullen! Right. Oh, God. All right. So, Susan. I thought something interesting is happening a little bit. I just want to note. You know, we, of course, have had this horror of a beautiful young black boy killed by a police officer here. That police officer has been charged with criminal homicide.
I noticed that.
Right.
He will probably be acquitted.
Yes, exactly. And and
it'll be appropriate under the law as it stands.
Okay, I just want to wait. But the thing is that there have been protests, constant, all over town. And I just want to note this, that as far as I know, not one protester has even been arrested. There has been no altercations at all with police.
Good for your police department.
Well, I want to credit both. I want to credit the Pittsburgh cops in the way they've handled this with such incredible restraint for a police force, and with the knowledge that their job was to protect the protesters. They understood that. They clearly had their marching orders. These people have the right as American citizens to do what they're doing. Your job is to protect them. And that's what they have done in all instances. And I also want to credit the protesters who have, to a man, woman, and child, done nothing that went beyond their First Amendment rights. You look at, the example that they are thankfully not following would be what happened in St. Louis after Ferguson. Right.
And let me tell you, the protesters didn't get crazy until...
the cops did.
The protesters got crazy because the first thing that happened is everybody showed up in riot gear and pointed assault rifles at them.
Yeah.
That is no way to make protesters think that they are safe.
Well, I just want to say, Susan, the only two people that have been arrested that I'm aware of were counter-protesters. One was a guy who was in a truck that was stopped because they'd blocked the highway, and he was screaming obscenities and racial taunts at them. He was arrested. And another guy who drove his car through a crowd he has been, I'm not sure if he's arrested yet. He's been identified, and I think he will be arrested. He harmed people. And I noticed that at all the rallies that took place on Saturday around the country to protest the separation of children and the jailing of babies by the Trump administration, not one arrest. All of the people doing what they do and have the right to do as Americans, behaving themselves properly, voicing their concerns. And the only arrest I'm aware of is the guy in Alabama was arrested in Huntsville, Alabama, at one of these gatherings because he was screaming at the protesters and saying things like, "Oh, womp, womp," like, "Oh, these poor kids." And then he pulled a gun and started waving a gun around. So,
that's always good.
That's always good. And there was an Episcopalian priest trying to talk when he was circling the crowd and repeatedly shouting, "Womp, womp, womp, womp." And the priest, Carrie Holder, says, "The uniting force of love is greater than the force of hatred." And she was screaming to be heard above him. And eventually started waving a Glock around. And he was immediately arrested by the police. So the people, I just want to point that out. Because there are some people, and a woman just lost her job here at Allegheny General because she put on her Facebook page something like, it was the most horrific thing. She put on her Facebook like, "I'm really glad they cops shot and killed the kid here, and they should do it more often," something like that. Somebody found that on her Facebook page and sent it to HR at Allegheny General.
Right.
She was fired immediately.
Mm-hmm.
So, guys, that is, we can get these fuckers in that way. Just get them. There's so many of them.
I always am of mixed feelings about those firings for exercising your First Amendment rights to make despicable comments. And then I realized, no, that's
as an
a private
employer.
corporation.
No,
an
employer has
absolute right.
Right.
That's an employer has a right to hire and fire at will.
Right.
That's one of the Republicans' mainstays, by the way.
That's right. That's right.
So if you are going to exercise your right to hateful speech, you should expect that you will not have a job.
You may well lose your job.
That is the remedy for hateful speech.
Right. And what AHN, Allegheny Health Network, said is that this employee in no way represents our values, and so they got rid of her. We have a call.
That's happening over and over again with
we're out of
usually
time.
women, I have to say. I mean, almost all of these are women that post these hateful things, and then they get fired.
Aw. Hey, we're out of time, and I'm sorry to the caller.
I would like to say to people,
Go ahead, Susan. You want to say?
I just, you need to understand that Facebook is a public platform, and that if you start publishing these things, that you're going to be punished.
Maybe.
I mean, just like the woman that gave Trump's motorcade the finger, she got fired.
Right.
It's not just, right wing, it's also left wing.
Right.
People don't want their corporations associated with your political leanings, so you need to be careful.
Right. All right. I want to. I'm sorry to the caller who was there because we're
hung up.
I don't know if they hung up, but I'm hanging up on them. We're out of time, and I just want to say, I don't think they're just trying to make me look stupid by not pulling the fire alarm, because I made a point, did I not, at the very beginning of the show, saying it would happen. I bet the minute the show is over, it's going to go off. Anyway, I'm just saying.
Well, isn't it nice we didn't have to listen to it?
Yeah, really. Susan, thank you. Are you and Mom going back to Chicago? Wait. Are you going back to Chicago?
What?
Are you going back?
We're going to go back to Chicago Wednesday because I had planned to have a dinner party on Wednesday, and that way Mom can see her great-grandchildren again.
Yeah,
and then
that's
we'll be
good.
back here on Friday to pick up the reconstruction.
Okay, great. Okay. Thank you, and I'll be talking at you.
Okay.
Okay.
We'll stay in touch. I'll keep you posted.
Okay, bye. Don't blow your fingers off shooting off stupid firecrackers, guys. Don't do it. Don't do it. So I'm not here tomorrow because I have to celebrate the birth of this once great nation. And I will be back on Thursday. We got Fat Man D and Liz Berlin coming in for a little bit of that hour, just so you'll have a heads up, okay? Oh, Clarence says, hey, that was me you hung up on. Well, Clarence, you got to, come in a timely fashion. I know you were there before the show, and I forgot. I did. It's my fault. Anyway, okay, guys, have a good one, and see you Thursday. Bye.
Lynn Cullen Live, Monday through Friday from 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. and archived at pghcitypaper.com. The opinions expressed on Lynn Cullen Live are those of the host and do not necessarily reflect the viewpoints of Pittsburgh City Paper or its advertisers.